And hi to everyone, whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in Australia or any other part of the world and starting to watch our show. Today in episode 2 we are going to talk about solar. The main thing here is keep the beer cold, okay? So we're going to work out how do we keep the beer cold. Okay, so what we're going to discuss around solar is how many solar panels do you think you need? How many batteries do you think you need? What type of batteries do you think you need? And what type of solar panels do you think you need? All of it amounts to dollars. Yep, in Australia it does. The old dollar. Now, I know when I arrived in Australia, someone said to me, mate, it's a good place to live, but you work hard for $1. Okay, so I want to spend my bucks in a wise way. So what do you do? How many solar panels do you need? What batteries do you need? And what is your budget? This is probably the best spreadsheet sort of excerpt on it that I found on the web. And so, you know, if you're watching and this is the one that you made, and thank you, sir, I really appreciate it. But I've done lots of research on it on YouTube and the web. And this one shows, you know, someone had a bit of thought in it about all the stuff that he's going to run in his van and what amperage it uses, how long he's going to run it per day, and what is the total usage he thinks he requires. And he installed two 100 amp hour batteries, and knowing that they're going to discharge to about 50%, he calculated that he's going to need a usable 100 amp at least, you know, to drive everything that he wants to use. And calculated with that and how long could he use it for, and he reckoned about 7.4 days. Now, of course, you know, we live in Australia, we've got plenty of sun. In our case, with the solar panels, we're going to charge these batteries back up again, okay? But, yeah, you need to first calculate the load. That's where you need to start. What is it that you're going to put in your caravan? What is it you're going to put in your van? Your RV, whatever you want to call it, okay? The load is the lights, anything, the fridges, anything in it that you are going to consume off the batteries. So, I'm afraid you have to do some maths, okay? Some good old electrical maths. Whoa, peeps, just before you start thinking there, what the hell, man, I don't want to do maths. Let's do a batteries 101 in simple terms for your needs, okay? So to do that, we need to explain electricity. So let's look at your car, okay? Car has an alternator, so when you drive your car, your alternator charges the battery for the car. However, the car uses a high torque battery, okay? So it's instant crank torque when you turn the key to start the car. It's not the same kind of batteries that you really want to use that you discharge over time and need to recharge via solar. So that's point number one. So the batteries that you really want to be using in it is rather like a gel cell deep cycle battery. Okay, these do a slower discharge rate, better performance in hot weather, and of course it's very hot in Queensland, right? Or hot in Australia just in general. But a deep cycle battery is what you want. And that's what we're going to talk about and what we're going to recharge using our solar. But it's important that you understand the differences between these batteries, because that will determine what you're going to do, the type of system that you are going to put together. So again, like all things, it comes down to the price, but it also comes down to weight. The car battery fitted in your car is pretty heavy if it's a lead acid battery, okay? We're talking here about normal petrol engines, not a Tesla, right? But you've got a normal petrol engine or diesel car, the battery is going to be pretty big. If it's a four-wheel drive, it's going to have an even bigger battery, okay? But that's a high-torque battery. So I want to fit some deep cycle gel cell batteries in it for my leisure parts in it, meaning charge the fridge in the back of the car. Okay, so if in the back of the car that I want to charge a fridge, I can have a deep cycle gel cell battery for that. And I want to charge some things in it in the caravan and run the lights, mainly the lights, and maybe every now and then that maybe the fridge in the caravan for short periods of time. But a more efficient fridge that we're using in the back of our four-wheel drive, so we decided to have a deep cycle battery separate for that, and a separate deep cycle battery in it for the caravan. Again, it boils down in it to your budget and your price. These batteries are heavy, okay? So if you start to put dual types of batteries in it into your car, or dual batteries into your caravan, you're going to pay the price in it on weight. So what's the alternative in it to the very heavy gel cell deep cycle batteries? Well, the LifePo lithium ion batteries in it are starting to make their way in a big way onto the market. And these batteries can be very slimline, they're very lightweight in it, and they can give the same amp hours in it, if not more, than some of the gel cell deep cycle batteries. A lot of tongue twisters. Okay. The point here is, though, in it is the price. Okay, so the LifePo lithium ion batteries that's come onto the market in it is about at least double, if not 3 times the price of a gel cell deep cycle battery. So the choice is yours, but that is really what it boils down to. It's a cost thing, okay? My budget at the moment is just that I don't see the value. I see the weight advantage, but I don't see the value in the battery just yet, because I've already got gel cell deep cycle batteries. So why am I going to throw that in the bin and go and spend all that money in it on buying a LifePo lithium ion battery? But I must admit, I'm starting to really consider it because of its weight advantage. Okay. We're going to talk about other things as well that you're going to need in the circuit, and it's something like a voltage sensing relay and where that fits into the whole picture in it. But there's quite a few things that you need to sort of weigh up in it and decide the type of control circuit that you need for your application. It's one thing for us and it's doing it for the car and the caravan. It's another thing if you're just doing up a van like some of our friends are. And they have to decide where and how they're going to fit batteries in it best in the van. I know that if I was starting out in it, I'd go for the LifePo lithium ion batteries. But anyway, it's all about money, right? So now that we've started looking at, we know what an alternator does. We know that the car uses a high torque battery. What we do when we go away to a powered site, and we know we're going to a powered site, then if it's for a short period of time over a weekend or something, we wouldn't even bother putting the fridge in the back of the car, because we've got a fridge in our caravan, and our caravan has a two-way fridge, okay, and the beer must stay cold. So the beer can be cold on the way to the campsite. And how that works in it is I have an Anderson plug in it that plugs into the back of my car. I was very lucky my car came with this stuff already, which means someone did use my car to tow, okay? So I plug the Anderson plug in it into the back of the car, and that puts power to the fridge while we're driving. Now I do have the voltage sensing relay to make sure if we stopped along the way, that the battery cuts out, okay? And what I mean cut out in it is if the voltage goes below, it says on the voltage sensing relay, but I think it's below 13.2 or something like that. Don't quote me exactly on that voltage. But if it drops below that certain voltage, then it isolates the battery from the car battery, okay? And that way, we always know that we have the high torque and the power available in the battery to start the car. Even if we decided to have a snooze when we stop for a long period of time along the road, and we just hooked up to the car, we're not unhooking, we just go and have a sleep, we are certain that we are going to be able to start the car. Okay, so that's a very important little piece in the puzzle to make sure that you don't use all of the power from the car to run your fridge in the caravan. Even if we slept and it was during the day, we'd have solar in it to recharge this battery in the caravan. Okay, So it doesn't really matter that much in it. One thing I forgot to mention in it though is, depending on the age of your car, the alternator charges in different ways. In older model cars, the alternator used to charge the car battery constantly. Okay, we'll just keep topping it up, and there was some electronic device in it on the battery that says, "Hey, I'm full," and then it just doesn't accept the charge anymore. Now you get alternators in it that, to make the engine more economical, it decides that if it wants to run a little bit more economical, it disconnects the alternator and monitors the voltage on the battery and says, "I've got enough power in the battery, so what I'll do is I'll disengage the alternator." Okay, so this becomes a little bit more problematic if you think that you're going to be driving, charging your system for a long period of time, if you have this later model car in it and your alternator is actually doing that. Okay, so again, check out what model car you have. If you've got a very late model car, chances are your alternator has got a clutch and it's engaging and disengaging in it, so you may be not getting the full power to your batteries all the time like you think you should have. Okay, just be aware of that one. Now, for 1 or 2 nights in it off-grid, we could even still use the fridge in it in our caravan. Our caravan has a 2-way fridge in it, and obviously if we started to make that cool before we left home, then it's not really working that hard in it to remain cold as we drive along. When we get to the site, we've got the solar going in it on the caravan, and it then runs off the deep cycle battery in it in the caravan. To supplement lighting in it around our caravan, we have, torches, head torches, all that sort of stuff. So we don't unnecessarily run lights in the caravan. So we could do 1 or 2 nights in it, like a weekend breakaway in it, with just the fridge in it in our caravan. Totally okay. If we decided it was a really short break in it, we could also use a chili bin or an esky or a cooler box. What's it called? Anyway, we got to keep the beer cold, okay? So we could put the beer in one of these in it with some ice. So the only one thing that we want to use the fridge for in the caravan in it is for food, especially if you've been banned putting your beer in the fridge. It does happen. So for us, when we parked up in it, okay, this could be for a week or maybe longer, and we parked off-grid, we normally take our camp fridge with us, okay, and the camp fridge we put in the back of the car. And because I've got a 100 amp battery in the back of the car, apart from the car's battery, so this is a separate leisure gel cell battery, deep cycle, with a 160 watt solar mounted on the car, that will recharge in it and then run the fridge very comfortably in it in the back of our car. Okay, the fridge has a blanket, in other words, it's protected as well, and our experience so far, in even the hottest days of the car standing in the sun, the fridge hardly ran. Okay, and it froze the stuff in it in the compartment that we set for freezing, because it's a dual compartment and you can adjust it the way you want it. We'll talk about that later. But that meant that our food is sorted in the back of the car. And because I have learned to keep my beers cold, my esky, chili bin, whatever you want to call it, has got a bag of ice in it and is always keeping my beers cold. So I don't really worry about that, okay? As long as there is a shop on IGA or something, or a camp shop or a main street shop somewhere near where we are camping, I could always head off in town and go and get some more ice. But because these boxes are very, very well insulated as well, the ice actually lasts for a couple of days. So, let's say I go and stay away for a week. I might go through 2-3 tops bags of ice. And that's constantly going in there and having a beer and having a beer and having a beer. Okay, but you know what I mean, okay? So in warm weather, and it can still last. It's not just my beer; it's actually the kids' call it as well. The wife's gin and tonic. Never mind. Anyway, so let's look at the Caravan. Okay, so the Caravan we mainly use for lighting it in the Caravan. And like I said, my Caravan's fitted with 110 amp hour gel cell deep cycle battery. So I could run the fridge of it, but then I have to be certain the weather is going to be really nice and that the solar is going to keep topping it up. So how do I resolve the fact in it if I do want to stay off-grid in it for a longer period of time, but I want to also use the fridge in the Caravan? Then I may have to consider putting another battery in, okay, and paralleling up on it on a second battery. The unfortunate thing is we do not control the weather. Oh my, do I wish we did. Okay, but there's going to be overcast days, there's going to be raining days, and when this happens, your solar is not going to charge as much as you think. It has happened to us. We've stayed in some nasty weather, we got minimal charge back in the batteries, and we were getting a little bit worried over if our fridge is going to stay disconnected and our food's going to go bad in the fridge. Yeah, that's like tossing a coin. What's the weather like? If you can't control the weather, then you have to make other plans. So what other plans do people make? They bring in generators. So you can have a generator, petrol generator, or whatever you want to have. But some campsites or places don't like you running them, and there may be some, legislation that you have to follow. Some rules and regulations on when you can run the inverter, and then you could maybe charge up, or generator, when you can charge up your batteries in it using a generator. People also fit, a sine wave inverter in the Caravan because they want to run a coffee machine, or the wife needs to blow dry her hair. Okay. So some extra things to consider in your circuitry. But we'll talk about the circuits in it in a minute. So some of my mates in it want to, actually set up a van. They don't have a Caravan or a car in a Caravan. They're busy fitting out vans in it that they want to travel in rather, because they don't like the idea of hooking up a Caravan. It's not in their budget or whatever the case is. Okay, I don't knock anyone for whatever means they want, as long as they come camping with us in it and we can spend some nice friendship together. So the point is, what would you do if you were in a van in it? You would probably consider putting two at least 110 amp hour batteries in parallel to cover all of your needs in it. Charging your smartphones and laptops and devices in it in the van, using the lights, using an inverter for the hairdryer and the coffee maker, running a small two-way fridge in it in your van. And then I would suggest probably you want to double up on it on the solar panels as well, and so you get the best out of that as well. Of course, then you need to make sure that your MPPT controller that you're going to use is able to handle the current from the panels that you have. Okay, so that's why in my case in the Caravan I have a 20 amp one, and in the car I have a 20 amp one. So if you're going to double up on it on the panels on it on your van, you may have to consider the next one up from that, which I think is 50 or 75 amp or something or whatever. Okay, but you need to upgrade on the MPPT controller as well then if you're doubling up on the batteries. And again, you have the same problem in the van, and that is weight, price, where do you put it all? Okay, so everyone's needs in it are different, but don't forget, keep the beer cold. Kids, fact or fiction, it's called a cooler box or esky or a chili bin in Australia. Never mind your bro calls it a chili bin, as long as he knows where to put the ice, okay, which is on the top. This may even be a citizen test question. Okay, the ice goes on the top so that the cold falls down over your carton of beer. I haven't got a beer sponsor, but who gives a 4X? Put some 4X in your cooler and put some ice on it.